Hello everyone, and this is my review for TNA Impact Wrestling on June the 3rd, 2015, and this is the first Impact that they've decided to do, that they've had on Wednesdays, and you know what, in some cases I felt like they really, sorry I had to itch my nose there for a second, they really came up short on everything. But in some other cases, I feel like they did a really good job. I like the opening segment with EC3 and Kurt Angle. I like the whole aspect of him doing the celebration because now he's #1 contender and everything in that aspect. You know how overboard he was going for that just single aspect of now he's #1 contender. He's going to get a world title shot finally. All that kind of area that they were going with. So that was one thing I definitely liked. I liked how Kurt Angle brought in the aspect of the option C and the X Division with the X Division title and Rockstar Spud in there. The problem that I actually have with the whole option C thing is that they could have done it with. They could have probably played a better storyline with Kurt Angle up against Kenny King of the BDC in this case, because they could have played off the BDC. They could have done a bunch of other things there, but they have the title on Rockstar Spud at this time. So they just they had that promo later on in the night. It's like, oh, Rockstar Spud's actually going to do it. I like how people were trying to entice him not to do it. Like Austin Aries attempted, even Kurt Angle attempted. You know, EC3 offers him a lifetime contract before he turns in the X Division title shot. So there were certain aspects of it I liked, but for the most part, I didn't really care for it. And I'll speak a little bit more about that a little bit later on. The areas with Tara Terrell, the Dollhouse, the whole aspect of what they're doing with them. I liked the fact that when they had the match, Brooke went over in this case. The Dollhouse hadn't really shown any vulnerability in matches yet, so that was one good aspect. It gives them a little bit of vulnerability, but they still get to keep their heat later on when they beat up where Jade and Marty Bell beat up Rebel. So you had a couple decent areas there, and maybe not really too much development in the say of Jade and Marty Bell's characters, because they're kind of still the same. They're kind of a little psychotic, everything like that. But you had a little bit more of Tara Terrell stepping out of the whole her whole normal aspect, or the you know, with her promo that night, she went ahead and said it's like she had gotten sick and tired of being what everybody feels like she should be. She's basically herself now, and all this. So you know, they had some decent stuff there, and she was going to basically say that she was going after that Awesome Kong was next after what she did with Gail, and it wasn't bad. It wasn't anything spectacular. But it's definitely better than what they've been treating the BDC. And I'll get into that right now. I feel like they've pretty much given up on the BDC. They basically, they like, for the most part over the last couple months, it's like they lose the match and then they get their heat back by beating down the people afterwards. But you know, they will not put them over in any matches. Just like this week with the six-man tag with them in the Rising. It's like, you know, you kind of been building matches and matches and matches with these guys, and you don't put these guys over in any of the matches. You might put them over in the sense of garnering heel heat afterwards, and they get their heat back after the match by, you know, still be standing tall, but they really did nothing with them in this case. And it's kind of sad, and like I said, I had kind of gotten sick and tired of the whole aspect of them losing the match and then getting a beatdown afterwards. They needed to start having them win matches, and at this point, it's completely utterly pointless for them to have these matches with the Rising anymore, because they won't put them over in any other way, and it's now become to the point of being boring, and it's kind of the same thing over and over and over again. And I hope it changes a little bit, but I don't really see them doing that. I think they've probably given up on that whole aspect. I mean, they could have played with the X Division title with Kenny King, and having Kenny King going up against Kurt Angle, and you could have played off the BDC and everything in that aspect. But now you have the Rockstar Spud storyline in there. I think they've really given up on the BDC in this case. Maybe they'll try to change things over the next couple weeks. We'll see where they decide to go with it. But other words, at this point, what is there to actually care about the BDC? Nothing really. They lose, and they might get a beatdown afterwards, and that's about it. They won't get anything else. So on to the tag team match with the Wolves and Austin Aries, Bobby Roode, the Dirty Heels. I liked where they went with this. Again, another really fun match, and I liked the aspect of it seeming like Bobby Roode didn't want to attempt to do heel tactics or anything like that, and then in the end doing it. So I like those little aspects to the match. Again, another fantastic fun match in this best of 5 series, and we'll see where they go along with it. It won't be next week because they're doing the whole Destination X thing, and that brings me to the end of the show, which had Kurt Angle and Rockstar Spud versus EC3 and Tyrus. It was obviously made earlier in the night when they had the full promo out in the ring. The match itself was a good match, so nothing bad there. But after the match, it's like, okay, there's certain aspects again that I like about it. The whole aspect that how many people are going to mess around with the whole EC3 world title match, and you kind of got that shot with him and Austin Aries at the end. But now, okay, you have one person cashing in a title to get a world title shot. Now you have a guy announcing that he's also going to cash in his briefcase to face the winner that same night. I did not like this. I'll be honest with you. I did not like it. It's going to probably lead to a couple rather fantastic matches and fun to watch matches, especially Austin Aries, with what I'll have to assume will be Kurt Angle. I haven't really read spoilers, but I would have to assume it'll be him and Kurt Angle, because I don't see them putting over Rockstar Spud in this case. I'm sure, and that cough was not like a weird cough or anything. I just had to cough at that time. But like I said, I don't see them wanting to put over Rockstar Spud as a world champion, even for a short period of time. It just would not look like that. They fancy themselves in being semi-realistic. It would not look realistic for someone like Rockstar Spud to be world champion. His character is not developed to be a world champion. It's more of a supporting role throughout the entire time. And, so that was the biggest aspect that I did not like about the whole Rockstar Spud cashing in his briefcase. Or not his briefcase, but the X Division title. It's just like, you kind of know the result of the match, and there's really no way that they can make you believe otherwise. I'm sure they're going to put some areas of the match where, like, oh, he can end out winning the match, or he gets really close to winning the match at some point in time, like they always do. But realistically, you can't believe it to begin with. So you would assume it's going to be Kurt Angle and Rockstar Spud in some kind of match, and then you'll have Kurt Angle and Austin Aries. And like I said, they'll probably make them really fun matches, but I did not like the ending to this show at all. It just did not come off well. So, like I said before, overall, the show was okay. There were certain aspects that I liked, certain aspects that I didn't like, certain aspects that just didn't come off even kindly entertaining or in some areas. It was a kind of a ho-hum show, and it's kind of sad because they are going into what is supposed to be one of their biggest divisions with the X Division, and they could have they had a chance for playing off of so many other different storylines. They're kind of ruining something that they had built with the BDC, trying to make them a big faction, but they're not really doing anything good with them. They make the Rising go over them in every single way at this point, so they're kind of throwing that to the back burner. The whole Rockstar Spud against Kurt Angle, not really digging it. And then, of course, like, you have one person cashing in an X Division title. Now you have someone cashing in a briefcase for a world title match later in the night. It's just like, it felt like a very convoluted and let's try to shock everybody with, oh, now Rockstar Spud's wanting the challenge Kurt Angle. Let's have Austin Aries cash in his briefcase as well. So it felt like they were just trying to shock people left and right throughout the show. Like, I liked certain aspects of the storyline where on the EC3 side, but it didn't really come off all that good in the end. Nothing more I can really say there. So, guys, like I said, it was kind of a letdown, but kind of an okay show as well. Matches, again, were relatively good, and they usually are. Don't get me wrong. The in-ring product is good. It's just some of these storylines kind of are getting a little over-convoluted. I'm liking the storyline with James Storm, Mickie James, and Magnus. They took that in a completely different route, and finally bringing it to light where James Storm was really going to be going this week. So that was a good portion of the show. They make it look like they're trying to write off Mickie James, like, because they make it look like she fell off of a very, very high fall in that sense. But you know, like I said, they've been playing this one well, and that just adds like a little bit more of a personal area where it makes it, where they throw into the storyline, it's like, oh, James Storm has now hurt Mickie James because she didn't join the Revolution and everything in that aspect. So that came off rather well in there. So that was a good portion of the show. And you'll probably see something with him and Magnus here in the very near future. So that one should be really good. And you know, I also like where they're going with the tag team series. That's definitely one thing I liking. I'll probably like the EC3 Kurt Angle storyline once they fully get it going at some point. So we'll see how that one comes off. I might not like it, you never know, but I've liked pretty much, I do like Kurt Angle's storylines most of the times, and EC3's been a really good heel. So I think this one could be a really good storyline leading into either Slammiversary or whenever they're going to have the title match. So we'll see where they go with things. Rather let down of a show this week not for the most part, but for some parts of it. Relatively good in some other areas, especially in-ring action. How they're continuing on with the tag team series. I like how the heel tactics of Rude and Aries are going in there now. Obviously, the Mickie James, James Storm, and Magnus storyline getting progressively progressing on further and making it even more personal than what it was before. So they did a relatively good job there. But some of those other things, like I was mentioning with Aries turning in the briefcase after Rockstar Spud's turning in the belt, that didn't come off all that well. And a couple other things, like I mentioned in the show, didn't come off all that well. So that's my review this week for TNA Impact Wrestling. And I thank you guys for watching.